Hi everybody, this will be part 8 in a character modeling tutorial series. This video we will start talking about how to block out some of the facial features of the head. At this point we don't need our image planes visible, so I'm just going to go in here and select the two image planes and hide those. Could also, if you have them in a layer, just turn off a layer. So I have them in a layer here, so I'm going to use that. Later, turn off the visibility. One other thing I wanted to mention is after we have gotten some progress, maybe done a couple of different commands, we might have some extra transform groups. These are created from when I've mirrored the body over from one side to the other. So if you have any extra transform groups over here, there's no objects under them. There's just a transform node. This is part of the history of the object. Periodically is a good idea to delete the history on your body or your object that you're modeling. So that way the history doesn't screw up anything that we'll be doing next. So to do that, all you have to do is select the geometry, go to Edit, Delete by Type, History. That should delete any extra groups that are associated with the history of this object. If there are still groups available, you can then just select those extra groups and delete those out manually. So what we're going to do here is block out the head. I have a lot of edge loops on the head right now, so sometimes it actually is easier to start with a basic cube and then start with a more rudimentary form and then build out the head from that. Combine that head form back to the body and target weld the edge loops from the head to the body. Eventually we're going to have probably more edge loops on the head than what the body has, so I'll have to do some step down subdivisions just like we did for the hand over here for the head. So it's usually easier to start from a new cube. So I'm going to create a new cube. We'll move it up here. I'll move it back in a minute to get the head positioned how we want to. I'm going to go to the inputs and we're going to start with 2 by 2 subdivisions. That'll create 8 edge loops or 8 vertices on the corners. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of scale this down. This is going to be the start of like the neck area. I can scale everything up to the proportions of the character in a little bit. I'm going to select the corner vertices. I have Symmetry on, so let me go turn Symmetry off for a second. And reselect, because I want to scale in these points similar to the way I did the torso. So I'm starting with a cylindrical shape for the head. Alright, so there is kind of my neck shape. I can move it down. Maybe this will be scaled in just a little bit. And then now with my extrude tool, I can come in here and extrude this up for like the base of the head. It'll be a little bit wider. And I'm going to extrude this up again. This will be like the center eye line. Something like that. Come back and do some extrusion and scaling for the face out here in a minute. I'm going to extrude up again. This will be for like the forehead. So I'm going to move it up. I'm going to rotate it back. And this will be starting to tilt into the cap of the head. Extrude it again and we will start to tilt it back towards the cap. Something like that. We'll do it one more time. What we're looking for is just a blocked out version of the head. So something like that. Alright, from that point, we're going to take the front 2 faces of where the actual character's face will be. I'm going to scale them out a little bit so it's roughly, you know, like that. And then I'm going to extrude the face out from these points. So let's do extrude and get my move tool, move it forward. We'll do a little bit of scaling, come back down some. There we go. And we can go back and kind of massage some of these vertices of like the forehead area a little bit. Blend them. Move the chin down some. Pull that down just a little bit. So I'm just moving some of the vertices so that I get a little bit better of a facial shape here. So we're going to turn Symmetry on here in a second. That will kind of get rid of the need to have to worry about one side versus the other side. There we go. Alright, so good time to turn Symmetry on. Let's go to Symmetry and Object X. So whatever I do to one side, it's going to do to the other. Move some of these out a little more. So to also start with the head, we're going to come in here and add an edge loop on the inside to round off the head a little bit. So I'm going to select one edge, hold down Shift and double click a parallel edge. Just select an edge ring and we'll do connect. So we just want one connect line that's going to put it on either side. Now sometimes with the symmetry tool on, it can cause issues like this of the symmetry not actually working. So sometimes we have to come in here and manually multi-cut this. With the multi-cut, I can click on this vertex and then hold down Shift. That will create a point in the direct middle of these two vertices, and then I can connect that back up there. So we sometimes need to make sure that the symmetry is still working. It is pretty good there. So the next thing I'm going to do is actually take some of the edges or vertices on the front, and we'll move them forward a little bit to kind of round off that facial area. And then we'll do the same thing for the back. So like those, we'll move that back a little. Maybe out some. We can massage these a little more as well. But that should give us a good base for the head to be able to model some of the facial features according to a basic human. So we can move some of these things in a little bit, down some. There we go. We can start to pull a little bit of the chin out some. Something like that. Correct the neck area a little bit. Just to round off some of these forms a little more. Pull this one back some. And then even out some of these around the character. We'll come back and make, final adjustments for how the neck connects later. All right, so this video we just blocked out the head. Eventually what we're going to do is come back here and pull the head back to the neck. We're going to delete the existing head. I'm going to keep it up here for proportion so I can match things like how I want the chin to be. So I can come in here and move some vertices around to try to match somewhat of a starting point of where I was at to begin with. Move some edges. And then come in here with like some of the vertexes, move them down. So that way we have a shape similar to the one that we have for our existing head. So we can pull that up, move some of these around a little bit. Maybe move our eye line down a little. That's going to be the center aspect of our head. We can kind of adjust some things around so that it relatively fits to the base form that we've already created. But in terms of my wireframe, I have less geometry to worry about, which will be helpful when I start to block out my eyes, my nose, and my mouth. So we can kind of treat it a little bit easier coming from a blocked out version instead of more loops that we already have for the head. So that'll end this video. The next video we'll come back and block out the eyes, and then we'll move forward to the other facial features.